Good afternoon, everyone. It's 12 noon, and I'm very happy to welcome you all to our Healthy Living Together today. And we're going to have a great presentation. But first, a couple of housekeeping items. Your audio is automatically muted. You have a question and answer box at the bottom of your screen, or could be at the top, and just click on that to ask a question of our guest speaker. And this event will be recorded, and Nina Barnett will send a link if you've registered in a follow-up email. I'd also like to say, please plan to join us on August 17th for our next regular Healthy Living, and our guest speaker will be on Kids Can Cook Too, and we'll have the nutritionist Carol Bublitz from Sanilac County MSU Extension. So that will be a great presentation. Our guest speaker today is our ever knowledgeable Kristina Myers. She's our registered dietitian and does a great job in educating patients and staff. I'm always learning something new from Kristina. And it's on gut health today, and we welcome your questions. Just use your question and answer function. Kristina?
Hi, everyone. All right. So today we're going to be talking about gut health and nutrition. So here are some objectives for today. We're going to talk about some tips to help with digestion, fiber, the pre and the probiotics, some gut and stress, and then we'll cover a low FODMAP diet, and then that's what the FODMAP kind of stands for, and we'll go into detail with that. So most of the microbes are found in our gut, especially the colon. So here's a nice little diagram. And when we say gut, we're talking about digestion all the way from the mouth to your anus, as it runs the whole thing, all right? It doesn't just stay in the gut. Now, there's factors that do disrupt our microbiome, okay? That can include the diet. So today we're kind of focusing on nutrition. So when we're eating a lot of processed foods that are lower in fiber, higher in sugar, higher in added sugars, those things can affect our microbes. Now there's other things that could relate to stress. Some medications, those strong antibiotics, steroids, those items do affect our gut, as well as infections. For example, yeast infection. There's another, if you have parasites, things like that, those affect the gut. Now, there's a big buzz word going around town, and has anyone heard of this? Put it down in the comment section. It's called the leaky gut syndrome. I kind of seen it over in magazines. It's a new thing. So we'll kind of start off with this nice, beautiful picture. On the left side is a normal gut. And it has nice, healthy, tight junctions right here, as we notice that. And so all our food and bacteria, the good bacteria, will go right along the surface nice and smoothly. Now, on the leaky gut, we notice that they're not as tight as these. And so the bad bacteria, viruses, different food items can kind of go in here and get stuck. And they can then go to the bloodstream. So there's a worry that toxins will get into the bloodstream. So I like to kind of think of this as teeth, right? If you have nice straight teeth, and this is where you have like big gappy teeth. So, things can go through. Hold on. we just skipped through a whole bunch. All right, there we go. Apologize. So with going back to diet, right? So research shows that when you're eating those high processed foods that are high in saturated fat, those concentrated sugars, and everyday stress, your lifestyle, as well as alcohol, any like substances, those can affect your gut. Now the leaky gut syndrome, it's still under research. It's kind of a new buzzword. So some of the tips for digestion. Now, portion size. When we're in a rush, driving down and we're eating, and we're not paying attention to the size of food. So there's different ways that you can do portion size. You can weigh foods. You can use my plate method. And if you just type myplate.org, that will lead you to a really great website on demonstrating that. Sometimes I just like to use my hands, and we'll go over that. Also, pay attention to how fast you're eating. I always encourage to eat mindfully. Pay attention to what you're eating. How does it smell? Be really mindful of that and chew your foods thoroughly. Anytime you're chewing, chew a little longer. That will help with digestion. And eating with regularity. Don't skip meals, but also follow your hunger cues. If you're really not hungry, when was the last time you ate? Has it been like 5 hours? You should probably eat something. All right. Now is where I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about the portion size, about the hand model. So let's start with our fingertip. All right. So kind of everyone look at their little fingertip. This is 1 teaspoon. If you're looking to gauge an ideal portion size, I like to use the fingertip for margarine, oil, mayo. I hope you guys can see my little, and then your thumb. So over here, right? That's 2 tablespoons. Those are really great way to see for your cheeses, right? Salad dressings. I know when we're using salad dressings, you gotta be a little mindful of that portion size still. Cream cheese, peanut butter, any of those items, thumb is great. Now, when the whole clenched fist, I really like to use that for your vegetables, your fresh fruit, salads, your cereals, soups. Soup's another one. All right. And then when you do a cupped hand, those are really great for snacky foods. So your trail mix, those are really good way just to cup your hand. And should be about what your snack should look like. Now, every time you feed yourself, right, because digestion starts right at the mouth, you're also feeding your gut. And that really plays a role with gut health, is what you're eating. And fiber, it fuels our gut's good bacteria inside our gut. So fiber is really important. It's #1 factor for promoting and maintaining that digestion. Where do we get our fiber from? We get it from plants. So plant-based. The fiber isn't completely broken down in the small intestine during digestion, and it moves to our colon, and that will create bulk and form the stool, help with the regular mobility, right? And if you're increasing fiber, let's say after this, you're like, oh, I don't eat enough fiber, I'm going to start eating these foods. Start slowly, gradually, right? You want to add maybe 5 grams of fiber until you reach your goal. Now, the goals kind of depend on, sex, age, how many calories you're consuming, but 20 to 35 grams per day is a good amount to aim for. All right. And there's 2 different types of fiber. There's insoluble fiber and soluble fiber. Insoluble fiber adds bulk and it helps speed things up. It also prevents constipation because it helps kind of get stuff out. And raspberries, whole grain items, wheat bran, those are all great sources. Now, soluble fiber It promotes regular bowel movements, both of them do. It helps digest foods more slowly, which can control your blood sugar levels. So I always say, you know, with diabetes, you're really mindful of what carbohydrates you're eating. So when you're eating that soluble fiber, it can also help regulate those blood sugar levels. Now, with your soluble fiber, it also has heart healthy benefits by lowering the LDL, which is known as the bad cholesterol, right? The good cholesterol is HDL. We want that to be high. Our LDLs, we want that to be low. Now, soluble fiber is really helpful for diarrhea because it thickens the stool. So when you have diarrhea, you know, banana flakes are the way to go. Apples, pectin sources, those will thicken that stool right up. Now, here is a nice big list of insoluble fiber and soluble fiber. So, right, soluble fiber, oatmeal, mango, figs, black beans, those are all really great, while insoluble are going to be okra, green beans, the raspberries, the whole grains. I'll wait just 1 second if anyone wants to take a picture of this. All right. Now, when you're looking at the nutrition label, 4 grams of fiber per serving means it's really high in fiber. It's a great choice. And just check the nutrition label. It will say dietary fiber, and it'll see how many grams of fiber there is. So 4 is like really great. Now, vegetables, right? The artichoke, sweet potatoes, green peas, blackberries, raspberries, those are all really good sources of fiber. Now, we were talking about what the goal for fiber should be. So the new one is to try to eat 14 grams of total fiber for every 1,000 calories you eat. So if you track your calories, you can kind of see where you should be at. Another way is, you know, for males, 50 years and younger, 38 grams is pretty good. And women, they just need a little bit less, so 25 grams per day. If you can get 25 grams a day, you're golden. So with fiber, right, it's really important to stay hydrated, drinking plenty of fluids. You can set your own kind of goal. I like that half of your body weight to be in ounces of water that you need in a day. And you may need more, you may need less, depending on how much fiber you're eating, how tall, how much you weigh, things like that play a role in it. But fluid helps your body process the fiber without the discomfort. When you don't stay hydrated when you're eating fiber, it could lead to constipation. So after you're done doing your business, kind of look around, see how often are you going, what's the form, what's the size. Sometimes it's like tight, little tiny balls. Those means you're stressed. You might not be getting enough fiber. So if you're having less than 3 bowel movements a week, you probably are constipated. And here are some of my recommendations that I would make. Drink a hot beverage. I like peppermint tea, or eat hot cereal first thing in the morning. So, you know, like oatmeal or anything that kind of gets you started. And you can add bran to that hot cereal that you're eating. Other options include flaxseed, applesauce. You know, you can definitely whip up a little smoothie. And you want to start with like 1 tablespoon for the flaxseed and flax meal. And you can also try those stewed prunes or prune juice. You can get little cans of those and keep them handy. And fun thing, adding movements aids bowel movements, right? Staying physically active. Now, prebiotics, this is the food you eat that allow the good bacteria, your probiotics, to thrive, to multiply, to be healthy in there. They're naturally occurring, they're non-digestible food that is resistant to breakdown in the stomach. So it kind of gets passed through the stomach acid, and it promotes the growth of the bacteria in your gut, but the good, healthy bacteria. Now, prebiotics can maintain water retention in the bowel. So if you're having some sensitivity and problems and following the FODMAP sensitivity, this is where you might want to be restrictive, and we'll go right over them. Now, the important part, feed the good bacteria with prebiotics. So anything that includes these really big words, right? Basically it's saying fruits, vegetables, whole grains, right? So fructo-oligosaccharides and galacto-oligosaccharides, those are, and inulin, those are all prebiotics. And you can find them in onions, leeks, artichokes, apples, fruits, berries, garlic, asparagus. We just missed that asparagus season, spring. Love asparagus when it's in season. Beans, if you're on a budget, that's a great one. Whole grains and bananas. So on the market, there are prebiotic supplements. There's little smoothies you can buy. They are expensive. So if you can make your own, the better. But if you're crunching on time and just want something easy, this is a kind of a new trendy thing that is on the market. It's a smoothie with 5 grams of prebiotics. And it has the strawberries, the apples, the blueberries, all good stuff. All right, moving on to probiotics. So in Greek, this means for life, and they're live microorganisms. So prebiotics, the one we just talked about, that isn't live. It's just the food that we eat that feeds probiotics. Now, probiotics are live microorganisms, and they're made up of bacteria and yeast, and they're the good bugs in your gut. They are identified by strains, genus, species, subspecies. They have a certain designation of where what they're going to do. So different strains, even of the same species, may have different effects. So that's really key to know when you're looking for probiotics. It's like, what do you want it to accomplish? So how does probiotics exactly work? Well, they help change, or they can even repopulate the intestinal bacteria to balance out the gut flora or the gut microbiome. They help reduce any diarrhea. So if you've been on antibiotics, this is a great thing to have a probiotic available, or you're choosing foods that have probiotics. It may boost immunity, right? It decreases the risk and duration of common infections. Respiratory tract, it really helps with that. Now, it also improves intestinal transit, meaning it helps us with going to the bathroom, and it nourishes the gut lining. So when we were talking about how the gut, you want to tight junctions, right? So it makes sure that it's nice and nourished and working at full capacity. Here are some fermented foods. So these are where you can find the probiotics, the live microorganisms. So some of them I know that most people will know is like the cabbage, right? The sauerkraut, common sauerkraut and pork, right? For a lucky meal. Now there's some that are not as familiar. I really like the sauerkraut, the kombucha, right? Kimchi. So they're all fermented items, and they do contain probiotics. And they're going to increase your gut microbial diversity. So that's important, and that will help reduce any inflammation. I really like, I do like the Health Aid kombucha. You can get that at Walmart. There's a different one called Butterbooch, and that one's really trendy. I haven't tried it myself yet. Yogurt, right? That's another great source. Kefir, tempeh, miso, kimchi. That's the cabbage, sauerkraut as well. So they're just prepared a little bit differently. Any fermented veggies. Now sourdough has probiotics, but they're not as strong as in yogurt or kefir. Now, how to choose your yogurt. I think this is an important topic because in a grocery store, there's a whole bunch of different yogurts, all claiming different benefits. So what you really want to look for is the label. It should advertise live active bacterial cultures. That's how you know that there is probiotics in that item. Now with the recommendations based on my plate, the American dietary guidelines for Americans, we do want to choose a low fat or fat-free yogurt. And so skip those yogurts that have all the fruit on the bottom or the flip things that have chocolate and different items on there. Just really make your own parfaits. You know, add fresh fruit, add a little bit of flax seeds to it, different things. Now, commonly added strains, we were talking about how different probiotics have different strains. So these are the strains that are typically in the yogurt. They're lactobacillus is a really common one. And sometimes yogurt will even list this items, and that's just the probiotics in the yogurt. So prebiotics and probiotics, they work together, right? The prebiotics is the food for the probiotics, the little microorganisms. I love plants, so I kind of think of this as a plant. The probiotics is the plant, and the prebiotics is the food, the sunlight, the water for the plant. And then together they make postbiotics, which is just the aftermath of the probiotics eating the prebiotics. And they normalize the gut microbiota that might be disturbed by whatever reasons, right? Diet, antibiotics, life stress. And it really can help with improved digestion. It makes your immune system stronger, helps with absorbing the nutrients better, right? As well as stress support. Here is some examples of combining the pre and the probiotics together. So doing bananas or berries on top of a Greek yogurt is a great way to combine those two together. Or stir frying. I love stir fries. You can throw anything you got in your fridge. So this is an example of asparagus with tempeh. So right, that's a fermented product. Here are some 4 top grocery tips that I would have to offer. Choose eggs, poultry, fish over red meat. You know, leaner the better. Add at least 3 colors of veggies. So I challenge you the next time you go grocery shopping, add 3 bright colors of veggies. And then choose at least 2 probiotic foods, whether it's yogurt that contains live cultures, kefir, different things, maybe sauerkraut. And then choose less processed carbs. When you choose less processed carbs, you're probably choosing more whole grains. So you want to flip the nutrition label, see how many grams of fiber there is. 4 is awesome, right?
Kristina, there is one question that's come up, and maybe this is the perfect place to ask it. And that's, should people take supplements? Do they need to take supplements to meet their prebiotic and probiotic needs?
All right. So it's really based on how much you're consuming through your diet. Some people just don't like fermented foods, and that's the probiotics. So it really depends. You can supplement them. And this is perfectly because this is just the right slide for it. So I always say talk to your physician, see what kind of probiotic will be helpful to you because there's different strains. Now, these are some of the common brands. They're quality brands, so they're recommended. They're expensive, but there's other options out there. So that's something that, if you're not familiar with it, with supplementation, your physician would be a great source to see what strain would be beneficial for you. Now there is a website. This is called the International Scientific Association for Probiotics and Prebiotics, and they have some great sources as well as other websites out here to see which ones are regulated, and choosing the one that fits you the best, because everyone got different things. They have some that are really great for dental health, probiotics for dental health. They have some for infections, antibiotic use, acne. There's just so many different probiotics.
There's a follow-up question about
Yeah.
how many gummies to take for pre and probiotics.
So if you're taking a gummy, prebiotic and probiotic, it should specify right on the nutrition supplementation bottle, and you should read that and see, you know, some will say 2, some will say only need 1, and some may say up to certain points. So that's really based on what brand it is. And then other than that, if you think that, you know, you need more or something, definitely your physician can say, you know, let's try this. This is a stronger or different thing, but definitely read the label on the probiotics, because they're going to be a little bit, all different brands are going to be different kind, different amounts. All right. So yes, supplementation is available for the probiotics and prebiotics. I take one as kind of needed. Sometimes I don't. You can, if you're eating a lot of fiber and prebiotics and probiotics, right, you might be adequate enough and you're having regular bowel movements, you're not experiencing any discomfort. You should, you know, it just really depends on what you want to do at that point. Now, the gut and the brain are in constant communication. So your gut can impact your mood and your stress levels and vice versa. So, you know, not everything stays in your gut, you know, right? They all have communication. The gut plays a huge part of your whole entire body. So, you know, you really want to make sure that your diet supports the proper digestion. So whether that's moderate portions, using that hand model, increasing that good fiber intake, the soluble versus insoluble, it can really have an impact on your mind. So proper nutrition can help ease, calm you down, right? If you're having a lot of stress, because that does play a role in your gut. So here are some ways to manage stress. Having that healthy social support, whether it's calling up your best friend or just going to an event, right, with someone. Number 2, engage in regular exercise. Getting that adequate sleep is really important. That can trigger how much you eat too. So if you're getting less sleep, right, you tend to eat a little bit more carbohydrates because your body needs, it's fighting for that fuel, and carbs are our fuel. So sometimes when you're not sleeping well, you eat a little more and then your gut's like, whoa. And just really focusing on taking deep breaths. Now, here are the recommendations for exercise, right? We want to stay active. Adult needs at least 150 minutes to 300 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic activity, so walking, dancing, and you can definitely break this into chunks. Break it down. If you have 10 minutes in the morning to go on a little stroll, take that 10 minutes and go for a stroll. Just take that time. Adults also need muscle strengthening activities such as lifting weights or push-ups. I try to, pick 2 days out of the week where you're going to focus on maybe doing wall push-ups or something, and whatever you're comfortable with, just keep pushing yourself to stay active. So here's some takeaways so far. So eat more fiber, drink more water. So adequate hydration is going to help prevent constipation. That's really key, is to make sure you're staying hydrated. Now, the prebiotics is the food items that we covered that feed the good bacteria. These are coming from plant sources. The probiotics is the live microorganisms in your gut, and they are found in fermented foods. You can supplement these. If you plan on using any of those supplements, either use the ones that were recommended, look at the different strains, and I would have clear communication with your physician as well. Managing stress, right? Regular exercise, like we just spoke, keep that movement going, getting that adequate sleep, do anything that, you know, helps manage that stress, because that does play a role in your gut health. And always just stay moving. Now, the low FODMAP diet, this is what the FODMAP stands for, the fermentable oligosaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharides, and polyols. It's a lot to say, so short and sweet FODMAP. And this diet may be recommended by your physician for either chronic IBS or IBD. IBS is irritable bowel syndromes. IBD is like the disorder, so like Crohn's, celiac disease. If you're having those abdominal pain, cramps, excessive gas, changes in bowel movements, you know, take a minute. What is it? Is it stress? I typically like to think of IBS as bullshit, because it's like stress. The S stands for stress, and you can kind of manage that. So with this low FODMAP diet, you have to take it and find other fiber sources that you can tolerate. So it may seem very restrictive, but what you got to do is you just got to find what works for you. So some other good sources that are on the low FODMAP diet include parsnips, collards, greens, carrots, squash, quinoa, strawberries, canned lentils, and wild rice. Now, this is, again, FODMAP, right? So this items that you eat, right, ferment, and they can cause that bloating, that gas, the abdominal pain, the diarrhea, all those symptoms. And so this is what some of the items that you would want to stay away from. There's a lot of different items, wheat, beans, cashews, dairy products, right? A lot of times like lactose intolerance, right? So anything from cow, goat, sheep's milk, and those sorbitol, mannitol, those are all like sugar alcohols. So artificially sweetened items can, you know, irritate that. So that is if you follow the FODMAP diet. It's not for everyone. It's just a really common diet out there, and it has been prescribed to people who have issues with their irritable bowel syndromes or IBD. Now, if you're saying, you know, I do get bloating and I'm not sure if it's IBS, one of the things I do recommend is remove or reduce the size of any food that's bothering you. If you know that you're, you know, anytime you eat an onion, you're feeling gross, then why not try something else? Maybe try a leek, or something like garlic infused olive oil. You can do that with, if you really like the flavor, but it's bothering you if you eat the real product, right? There's just ways around it. Diversify your diet, right? Experiment with other fiber choices or other probiotics, prebiotics, different things, and assess your lifestyle. How, like, what's going on? Are you feeling really stressed in the morning? So this is a kind of good way just to start a food diary. What did you have for your first meal, right? Not everyone eats breakfast, but for your first meal, what did you have? How did you feel? Did you have a lot of bloating feeling, gas? Like, what's going on? So I really recommend this just to get in tune with yourself and seeing what foods may trigger, you know, the unpleasant feelings of either IBS or figuring out what it is specifically. All right. And I think, Louise, do you got any other questions coming in?
We didn't, but you have last 10 seconds if you want to submit a question, please do. Thank you so much, Kristina, for your very knowledgeable, informative presentation. So full of great education. Thank you. And remember to come back and join us August 17th for Kids Can Cook Too. And our speaker will be from MSU Extension, Carol Bublitz. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else, Kristina?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Oh, more questions. Sorry, they just popped up. Should flaxseed be ground?
Yes. Yep. Anytime I eat my flax seeds, I usually put them in a smoothie, an oatmeal, anything. Like if you're baking something, sneak them right in. But the ground will be beneficial to get all the nutrients out of them.
And another question is about the gummies. Are they a good source? And our participant has heard that they're not a good source.
I have not read many reports on the gummies specifically. I'm curious on what you read with that.
We'll see if they respond, but here's another question. For FODMAP diet, you mentioned canned lentils. Why not dry lentils? I've never seen canned lentils.
So canned beans, those are really great. They're both really good. Low FODMAP is just really particular on what you can and can't tolerate. So it's just kind of a list of items that you can tolerate this, but you can't tolerate that. So a lot of times, like the canned items, most individuals can tolerate a little bit better.
And we have another question coming in, Kristina.
All right, I'm ready.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. I've already asked it about the lentil question.
Okay. Yep.
Anything else, anybody? Here it comes.
Oh.
Here's one more.
All right.
Awesome.
Okay, and I just read, I popped up the thing. So Angela said, what I read was the process to make the gummies destroy the pre and probiotics. Yeah, I can see what they mean by that, because you want the prebiotics and the probiotics to get through the stomach without the stomach just disintegrating all the health benefits of it. I am not too familiar on the gummies. I do think that what Ollie brand is a good kind, but yeah, I'm not positive on the research behind if the process of the gummies destroyed the actual amount. But you can actually flip the gummies around and see how many grams of the probiotics it offers and compare. So if you're in the store, you can just take the 2 probiotics and compare what they have in them and how much they have in there. You can just compare those 2. That's really interesting. I really appreciate you sharing, Angela.
And then we're going back to the FODMAP diet. Why are canned lentils, beans better?
Right, they're going to be a little bit more broken down.
Almost pre-digested for you?
Kinda, sorta. The complexity of the gut. All right. Any other questions?
We have a thank you that came in too. All right. Thank you, our participants too. And come back again August 17th.
Yeah.
And have a good day and eat healthy.
Yes, eat healthy.